Welcome to the on wax.
Metal band that keep seeing like on my TikTok called Taake.
Taake. Talking to the mic. We'll capture this.
Check 1 2.
Oh,
Checking out some Norwegian black metal. I'm going to say it wrong. Torque.
how do you spell it? Take. Have you seen that doco yet that I was talking about?
No. Which one? The one on the
Norwegian black metal.
What was the
But
band?
it's not a doc. It was not a doco. It was like a biopic movie. It had Macaulay Culkin's son in it. It was called. I can't remember what it was called, but it was about those Norwegian black metal. Well, when the birth of Norwegian black metal, the guys that burnt down all the churches.
Yeah, I don't know who they are. And then they wear those bits of skull.
Yeah. So the original front man blew his head off.
I have been seeing that on my TikTok as well because I just keep watching Norwegian black metal. So my algorithm.
You got to watch this movie.
Yeah,
it's fucked up.
Yeah, it's got the Kieran Culkin in it.
Yeah.
And he's like the main dude. And then there's like a guy, like another guy that wants to be mates with them.
So
And becomes friends with them, right?
yeah, he becomes the new bass player.
Yeah.
But it ends up being super competitive on who can be the most hailing of Satan.
Ah, yeah, cool.
And the guy that's like, I'm more dark than you motherfuckers, is the one burning the churches down.
Ah, okay.
But
No.
crazy.
No, this was more just, my algorithm going, yeah, we're at some Norwegian black metal festival. And I guess like, and then also now like people talking about how Norway is like known for that, but also like you don't see it. It's not like you go to Norway, like everyone's like listening to black metal. I've been to Norway.
I haven't been to
lot.
Norway. I can't be the judge of that.
Well, yeah, there was like everyone was just super like lovely, clean cut, good looking,
Blonde.
fit, blonde, tanned, rich.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
There's a stereotype out there somewhere.
definitely.
Yeah.
Norway was like a postcard.
Not for the faint of heart, that movie. I don't
Okay.
recommend watching it if you
And we don't
can't
know the name of
handle
it.
like heavy suicide themes and it's on.
If I Google black metal movie, will it come up?
Yeah, Google it.
I guess like I put like Kieran Culkin.
Yeah,
Is it Lords of Chaos?
that's it. Lords
Yeah.
of Chaos.
Lords of Chaos on Amazon Prime. It
On
looks
Amazon
like
Prime.
Rory Culkin. Sorry,
Rory.
Not
How many
Kieran.
Culkins are there?
Must be 3. Maybe there's more. Also, Jack Kilmer. I wonder if that's any relation to
Oh, no way.
Val Kilmer.
Could be. But
That
yeah,
looks cool.
full on movie.
Set
About-
in 87.
Yeah, about the black metal scene. Like, I'm not going to spoil it. Because it's a bit R-rated for this podcast.
There's a Skarsgård in there too.
Skarsgård.
Volta Skarsgård.
Yeah, that's their names, their alter egos.
No, that's his actual name.
Volta Skarsgård.
Yeah, Skarsgårds. They're actors
Oh, right.
like Tarzan.
Oh.
The guy that played It. You know the movie It.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either.
I'm going to watch that. I
But
love a
he's
Stephen King
He's
film.
a Skarsgård. He's a Skarsgård.
Okay.
There's like 2 main ones, and I've just heard about a third. But I think they're all actors. But yeah, the guy that did Tarzan and the new Tarzan.
Yeah, I know. And the guy that plays that deaf. Anyway, I'm gonna watch it.
So turning into
If
a
you-
movie podcast.
If you're into black metal or any kind of metal, you should watch Lords of Chaos.
Yeah, I want to see that now.
Be warned of the Lords of Chaos, though.
Yeah.
It's full on.
Now, to digress further into like movie stuff, but we watched this movie called Deep End of the Ocean the other day. I think it's from the 90s with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Right.
Me and my wife. And it's like, it was a pretty brutal theme. Like, it was cool though. It was like a kid gets like stolen when he's like 2 years old, and the family's like all freaking out, and then it kind of like flicks forward to years later, and this kid like shows up to mow their lawn, and it's him. And then anyway, if you want to watch it, won't spoil it too much. But I was like, oh, Michelle Pfeiffer's awesome. Like, I just, those things, those people that just sort of like don't really cross your mind.
Yeah.
And I always think too, I'm like, oh, often, like we're trying to pick new movies to watch, and I always like go back to my favorites, but it's like, oh, I'm kind of, don't want to keep
rinse,
rewatching
repeat,
Step Brothers and
basketball.
yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh, like I want to go and look at what Michelle Pfeiffer's done, and her list of movies. Turns out she's done like 69 movies or something. And I was like, let's like, if we get stuck on a movie, like let's just go and like pick a Pfeiffer movie.
Go down the deep end of the actor or actress. Yeah,
that's right. Rather than like trying to be like, oh, let's like, I like watching fantasy and
romantic comedy. Like,
I know, another rom-com.
Let's find the hottest romantic comedy that's out right now.
She was in like Scarface.
Yeah.
Lady Hawk. And then there's a lot of like other random ones that I've never heard of. Like I'd never heard of Deep End of the Ocean either. And that was cool. Like it was a good watch. It had that 90s pace to it.
Yeah.
Like late 80s, early 90s. Like,
yeah.
I find some newer movies can drag a bit.
Yeah.
Like, let's indulge in like the real sadness of this person for like 2 hours, and it's like, oh my god, this is like exhausting to watch. I love that 90s pace, Home Alones and those kind of films that just like keep the ball rolling. You're not dredging and dwelling on some like really heavy topic for too long.
You don't have to learn everything about this character before they get to the point. Yeah.
Anyway, what episode are we up to now? We're up to episode 17.
17.
Welcome to episode 17 of Rainbows on Wax. I'm Alex.
I'm Steve. And
we are going to talk about music as we do. We're going to talk about movies too. A funny thing is like I listen to podcasts. I know we're making a podcast, but my favorite podcast sort of started with the whole Kevin Smith thing, Jay and Silent Bob. Kevin Smith, obviously.
Absolute second to none legends, those guys.
Absolutely. But Kevin's podcast, I'd say, especially early on, I don't really listen to his newer stuff, to be honest. There's some other side projects from the Kevin Smith stuff that I do listen to, like Tell 'Em Steve Dave. But often Kevin's stuff was all about like movies, like how they made movies, like how he makes movies, other things he's been a part of, a lot of pop culture. I don't listen to like heaps of music podcasts personally. If anything, I listen to like Hamish and Andy, which is obviously just Australian, whatever's going on with Hamish and Andy. But I was like super fascinated with all the Kevin Smith stuff. And his background was kind of, I think he was inspired by this film called Slacker, which I've actually never seen. But it was this whole sort of revolt on major motion pictures, I guess, in the, must be like late 80s, early 90s, where he filmed it on a camcorder. Yeah. So it was like, instead of using the big film cameras, which everyone was using, he grabbed a camcorder. And I think the movie was kind of like made in the way of someone who's slack, but also about a slacker. And that was what gave Kevin Smith inspiration to make Clerks. He was like, well, if this dude can like make it,
the fly on the wall kind of approach to...
Yeah, but also just not needing to hire...
Not an expensive budget, basically.
Yeah. And I drew a lot of comparisons with music in that too. Like, Kevin, like he worked at the convenience store. And the way that he'd kind of set it up was because he was only allowed to film it at night. There's like a scene at the beginning where like they go to open the big garage door and someone put the gum in there. So they just permanently shut so that they could film at night and it's like it's the day because like the windows are all just closed. Yeah. So like it didn't matter that it was at night, it still gave the impression that it was in the day. Yeah. Anyway, and obviously that film, cost him like 20 grand or whatever, which is probably still a lot of money back then. But then won all these film festivals, he kind of just went out and did his thing and started like this cool career after just, having to punt,
Mm-hmm.
not worrying too much about the budget, not worrying about like a big studio or like, I'm trying to like make comparisons here, I guess, to like some musicians who think like, oh, the thing is that is stopping me is like, oh, I don't have access to like that producer or that studio. And so like my music isn't going to be like good enough. And it's just not the case. Like just getting some shit out there.
We've got all the tools at our disposal.
Especially these days.
Yes.
Especially these days. Like it would have been way harder back then. But again, too, like I'm sure there was like heaps of bands that would have just like put a microphone in the middle of the room and recorded their rehearsal.
Yeah.
Rather than, being like, we're not going to do it because like we want Steve Albini or whatever.
Yeah. Waiting for the right moment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. So I know we had a bit of a theme today, which I think that hopefully connects a little bit with.
Our theme was, well, it could still be creative release strategies.
Yeah.
So that's a creative approach.
Well, yeah, I mean, like before we release, obviously you need something to release.
Yeah.
So I think that's just something to consider, is like not necessarily needing to go overboard, working within your means, using what you've got, and like, there's so much of that attitude and approach in the recording of like your band or you as a soloist that is going to set up this platform for creative release.
There's like coming from the top of my mind, like DIY bands right now. King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, Australian, like massive worldwide
icons.
Phenomenon right now.
Yeah.
You listen to their earlier stuff and it is mono recordings.
Yeah.
Because they had two drummers as well. So the older records, it was like mono drums on either side of the mix. So they were doing that Beatles thing where they'd pan the drums wide.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And the kick drum would be down the middle. Oh, it'd be mono guitars, mono voices. Probably most of the time using a 57 for everything.
Probably still do.
Probably still do.
Surprised.
A lot, like listening to their later catalog, it's progressed heaps. Like they've gone for a bigger drum sound, one drummer.
Yeah.
They've, synthesis and all the layers and more more hi-fi acoustic recordings. But
for sure, I wonder if that just comes naturally too. Like a lot of producers, like if. Again, I don't know the ins and outs of like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, how much like internally they do, or if they have external producers and things like that. But so much comes too just from the progression too. Like they could be using the same rooms, same microphones as when they started, same interfaces, everything. And it's just like the microphone technique, the music, the ear of the person mixing it, that is just like, especially having that much material to work on.
A lot of it is done by them.
That's right. Like, so over time,
it's all them.
You'd be the same. I'm the same. Like if I listen to like my early stuff that I worked on, it was like kind of boxy and like not very loud and like odd choices of things and, weird kind of EQs because you're like, I just want to like, do all sorts of weird stuff to get it to sound however I'm imagining it. Probably like cranking the speakers. So then you're mixing everything kind of like really low because no one's like turning it up all the way. Not looking at gain structures and stuff like that.
So subjective.
That's right. But
So
as you move through, like, you don't, again, it's like even still, like, you could be like King Gizzard and Lizard Wizard and like using your 57s and just still using them because it's just like you're just getting better as an engineer. And you're just getting better at like microphone choices, or the drummer's like playing differently.
Yeah.
The guitarist is like playing differently, and the choices is what sort of goes into what gets that progression without losing some of the heart.
Yeah.
Without sort of going like, oh, we need this shiny. We need to go to 301 in Sydney.
They're just loving the process.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's a big part of it all is like even, on our topic of creatively releasing your work. Yeah. Like the release strategy itself, it can ebb and flow. It can change with your progression, like as the artist, like where you are now, use what you got. If you got Instagram, like use Instagram as one of those strategies of releasing your stuff.
Yeah.
Whether it's behind the scenes footage of the creation of the album, or if you're using Spotify, yes, Spotify is a release strategy, but it's not the be all or end all. Like if you're making YouTube videos, if you're doing lyric videos, actual music videos, live videos, the strategy can be like, so if we were to compare it to a major label strategy, and you might have something to say on this because you work with Warner.
Yeah.
From the research I've done, it's usually 6 weeks. Like the average major label strategy is a 6-week strategy. So in that first week, they might put the song out. Spotify, iTunes, YouTube Music, Apple Music, whatever it might be. Second week, it could be the music video. Third week, it could be a lyric video. Fourth week, it could be an alternate mix, like with a feature or
instrumental version,
all of those things. Fourth or fifth, where am I? Fifth week, it could be merch pack to go alongside it. Sixth week, it could be the gig or the announcement of a tour, or
you may have already been touring, so it could be like culminated footage, like if you started touring at the beginning of
a live video, like all of those kinds of things. So you know, that's just one kind of structure. Like whatever you want to do within that is like totally up to you.
I think it slightly varies between like new artists and established artists. Like it might sort of, you know, Harry called me the other day about this, and he was like, "Oh, you know, we've got our it's nothing butter. We've got our release on the Friday, you know, but we've got our gig on the Friday." He's like, "Can I release it like earlier, like during the week, because I want people to have heard it?" And I was like, "Oh, that's such a funny observation." Like, of course, like when you're not like in the big leagues and competing with the big dogs, like you can release really any day that you want. It doesn't. I don't think it's going to make any significant difference releasing it on a Friday. And I actually thought that was like a good thing that he thought of. He put himself in the audience's position and was like, well, only the hardcore fans have probably heard the song if they play it live. There's no other way to really listen to it. So why not put it out on a Tuesday? Let
it simmer for a week. Give
them a week to like listen to the song a few times. So by the time they get there on Friday, they've got that song locked away, and you know they can get fully stoked on playing it live. I think that's not the worst thing to do either. I wouldn't get too hung up on like, oh, it's got to go out on a Friday.
No, even like summer, like all these, there's a flood of songs that come out in summer on Spotify. Like, why would you enter that kettle of fish when it's so fucking busy? Like, nah, steer yourself away from that.
Do
like,
a Tuesday, you know, like, we were talking just before I actually brought up my, like, how much money I make from some songs. You know, I won't tell you like who the names are, because I don't want to reveal other people's, you know, potential private information. But let's just say I had a song that's got about 3 million streams on it. And I know I'm signed to a publisher, so there's money that comes to me directly and money that goes to them. So really we've got to double this. But on a 3 million, 3 and a bit million streams, I would have made, so half goes to my publisher, half would have gone to me. About, I think it was $800 went to the publisher, so $800 come to me, so that's about $1,600 on a song that I own 50% of.
In what period of time?
This would be the last like 6 months.
Right. So is that the song's been out for 6 months?
Song's been out for 6 months. This is a touring artist as well, so that would be also live performance royalties. Again, like on a similar time period of a song that has about 15 million streams, it's actually been out a lot longer. You know, it's been out for a few years, but it's had about the same amount of money.
So a song that's been out for
a few years had about 15 million streams. But that artist doesn't play live. And I've probably made about the same amount of money. So I'd say around, what's that, about $1,600.
So performing that music is a huge exponential kind of bump on your royalty.
Yeah, almost like, 15, it's just 5 times as many streams for like the same amount of money as if like this person who's been playing live. And to be fair, this person has done some big festivals and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
That song would have been performed live there. But just to give an indication on like, if you're an artist if you're expecting 10 million streams, you could be making money. And again, if you're completely independent, no record label, no publisher, you're not splitting the money with another songwriter, for sure. Like, there could be a few $1,000s there.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got multiple songs that are kind of hitting these 2, 3, 4 million streams, like, it would start to add up a little bit. But
all the more reason to tour as
100%.
Part of that release strategy.
Yeah, playing live as much as you can, you know, to sort of, and then having, I guess, like more songs as well. Like if you're playing live and these songs aren't registered with APRA, you're not going to see any bump on that, through royalties and things like that. So making sure that even if they're not recorded yet, you can still record them with APRA and write them down every time you play. The venues will obviously be submitting, how many people come and they pay a rate based on that. But yeah, just to give people the real insight on, and I'm sure if anyone out there who, has any contradiction to that, chime in. But
Please.
That's literally what's written on paper in front of me. So again, it's especially if you're a band.
So this is coming to you as a songwriter split.
Yeah.
Not necessarily a mechanical, that's a whole different ball game. This is a APRA collection songwriting split.
Yeah.
Not necessarily streaming collection. It's more songwriting collection.
Well, it's from streaming, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be mechanical. Each artist, it may depend on, I guess having a label, but it still just really affects me as a songwriter. So I only own, 50% of 50% of the song. So these artists that have the, going away to their master. So the other person in this regard would have whatever deal they have with their label, and then they would be getting a little bit more than me, because they would own some of the master.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's sort of how it works as a songwriter. It just sort of gives you a rough indication of how much money, I guess, can be made through streaming.
Yeah.
So, if you're a young artist and you're not expecting it to be streaming in the millions, I don't think it's something that you should worry about too much.
Exactly. It's one source of income.
For the sake of, potentially, and I guess too, if you own it all and you own the master and everything, you're still needing a few million streams to look at any kind of significant bump in money from APRA per year. And again, too, it's I know it all adds up, and it's great to have, an extra few $1,000s a year, but I don't think it's something that you could necessarily survive on.
Totally. So all the more reason to get creative with all the release strategy, right? You're talking songwriting, streaming, royalty income.
Yeah.
Yes, touring income is a great source of income as well.
Yeah.
But merchandise built around that.
That's right. Merchandise, I think, is the biggest one.
I like the exclusive merchandise to that release.
Yeah.
What else is there?
Well, I would also say, when it comes to marketing the song, instead of maybe pushing heaps of marketing behind go and stream my song, put it behind go and buy my shirt. Boost those posts.
Yeah. And
put emphasis on that in your videos too. I know we all want those big streaming numbers, but there's so many.
The return on investment would be much more viable for the boost of a sale in merchandise than it is on the streaming.
Yeah. I mean, if you could sell 1,000 t-shirts at $40 a pop, you're talking 40 grand coming in.
Yeah.
1,000 streams is going to do nothing.
Yeah.
So
isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Music artists become product designers.
I mean, at least like with like that side of it, like musicians have always sold merchandise.
Yeah.
You know, it's always been a big part. Like I love it too. Like I love wearing band shirts.
Yeah.
You know, like I think the audience likes it. It's nothing to like be embarrassed about.
No, don't get me wrong. I love designing a tee.
Yeah.
I'm one for the fashion.
That's right.
You know?
But it's different to like doing the whole like face to camera stuff. Like becoming a brand in like your opinion.
Totally.
A brand is like, you know, through social media and stuff can be pretty exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas just like going and just be straight up with them, be like, buy my t-shirt. Like, you know, like
support me by buying this.
Yeah, exactly.
You can stream the song if you want.
Yeah, stream it if you want. I remember even John Mayer used to say that like when he was like started out, he's like, oh, buy a t-shirt and you can just like download the album.
Yeah.
You know, because like most of that money's going to his label anyway, but he obviously in his deal had kept his merchandise. Yeah. You know, so I remember like seeing some live performances where he'd like say that. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, okay, if you can't afford the album, you don't want to buy it, like just go and download it.
There was an artist, so I can't remember who it was, but they had...
You're talking about System of a Down with Steal this album?
No, but that's like another great marketing scheme, right? Yeah. Like that's just brilliant. The name of the album, Steal This Album.
Yeah.
So
with no album cover.
Yeah.
It was just like straight onto the CD.
Yeah. No, there was a live show I went to, and on the big display behind the band, they had a QR code for merch. And they said, our merch is going to sell out. Buy yours here or pre-order yours here.
Oh, that's cool.
And I thought that was so smart because it created a whole heap of urgency on the merch desk.
Yeah.
But it also put in front of fans the direct links to their store. Also,
if people are at a gig and they've had a few drinks...
Yeah, they're like, yeah, take my money.
Yeah, I just spent like $40 on one, you know, espresso martini. I'll buy a $40 t-shirt. Yeah. You know, at least I get to keep that. It's not gone in 2 seconds. Yeah. It's probably not the worst time to like be pitching to people to spend you know $30, $40, $50, whatever your t-shirt is, when they're spending that much on alcohol. Like between the shows, between each set too, like just have the QR code for the merch stand. So good. And they hold less stock that way. Like it's kind of a win-win across all boards in my opinion. I think the hard one I think is for any artist, like if you're a band, it's so easy, it's so good. I want to rep the band. If you're a singer-songwriter or someone that uses your own name and you maybe don't have an interesting name, it's just like your regular name, I would get creative with that.
Let's talk about this some more because I see this a lot and it almost like I love collecting band merch too. A band name is the branding, right? And like your own name can almost like it for me to wear someone else's name on my shirt, it's got to be a fucking cool piece of merchandise. You know,
it's got to be really cool, especially like I think, you know, mostly men. I'd say men might have issues with wearing anyone's name on them. I'd say women are maybe a little bit different. Like maybe there's a little less sort of like judgment. That you're like, oh, why are you wearing that man's name or that woman's name on you? But I think men especially, you know, maybe
like
would
just
be a
like
little bit.
Ed Sheeran.
I know it'd be
like
tough.
Across your man boobs. Like
exactly. I'd find it hard to like, you know, wear a shirt that had somebody's name on it.
Unless it was like something beautiful and then there was a subtle little name attached to it. It becomes more about the art.
I reckon that's why Ed probably does do like the divide and like multipliers. Like he has these kind of branding things that it's like, oh, anyone who knows Ed Sheeran like knows that that's like the thing that he's using. So you don't need the big Ed Sheeran written on there. You know, you could have it on the back. You could have it, small somewhere. Conversation
starting merchandise. Like I feel like
could just say something too.
Like a lyric.
A lyric
or something. Like Ziggy's done that. Ziggy's had like a picture of the single artwork and then a lyric, and then his name's been hidden on the whole thing.
I know Corby does that too. He has those shirts to say like everything's fine or something. He has the album name or a song name. You know, something that goes like, oh, anyone who knows like that artist, because
Yeah.
Matt's even raised it with me. He feels odd sometimes, like putting his own name on it.
Yeah.
On merchandise.
It's interesting. I find that very interesting because I feel that like as a consumer and a lover of collecting this sort of shit, like I'm like, I don't know if I want the actual name. Like even me now designing merch, I don't think I want to put Stonewax on any piece of merch. I want to hide it. I want it to be so subtle and like out of the way that it's more about the artwork. Yeah. You know, and people can kind of connect the dots with other similarities in the artwork. And, you know, very interesting topic, that one.
It is something to think about if you are an artist out there that uses their own name. If you're a band, you know, you got the easiest route of it all. I think you should obviously just do a bit of research as well. Go and look at artists that have been successful through merchandising. Big one off the top would be like Violent Soho. Yeah. You know, Epic Merch. Really leaning on the culture that they were a part of, you know, weed culture, kind of
slush puppies,
slush by 420s, you know, weed leaves, like cool symbolism, Dune Rats, like I'm sure they do really well in merchandise. They've always had really cool merch, cool designs, working with cool designers, lots of different merch available. But start with one shirt, you know, and sell it out. Like I know we're not all meant to be, you know, big on how fashion works, but I know exclusivity is definitely big in fashion. People can be like, I got this shirt, like a
limited run of 50 or you know 20. Yeah. Even if you can hand make them, like if you have access to screen printing, or you can actually paint a little design on each thing, like that's handmade. Like
you can get your own screens made up. I did those for like the RVR ones where it was like they give you this sort of screen, $50.
Yeah, it's
I think
pretty
it costs
cheap
to get made.
Yeah, most screen printers will do it, right?
Yeah,
and you just buy the screed and the paint. And
the scraper thing, whatever it is. Yeah, and the paint from an art shop. Yeah, you know, and then you can go and spend whatever you want on t-shirts.
And I think it's AS Color. Buy more blanks, the cheaper they get. So if you buy 50, I think you can get them for like $7 or $8 a shirt. Yeah, just about.
I've seen like stacks of plain shirts in Lifelines as well. Sometimes they're AS Color ones.
Yeah, so Gildan.
Gildan.
Yeah,
and they're just plain. Like you might not get the exact color that you want, but if you're on a budget, And again, it's that there's that book that, you know, we've all probably read as kids, with the Shoemaker. Do you remember this? No. Like a Christmas, I don't know if it's a Christmas tale or if it's like just one of those things, but anyway, there's a shoemaker and he's like struggling, his business is struggling, and he, you know, gets the last little bit of money he has and he buys this bit leather and leaves it out like he's going to make the shoes. And anyway, these two little elves come in at night and make the shoes. And then he's like, oh, amazing, these shoes are made, and he sells them. So then he buys 2 pieces of the leather and leaves it out, and the elves come in, and then he sells those, and then he gets 4 pieces of leather, and it's just like a great little business model, you know, to follow. If you can only afford 20 shirts, get your 20. You know, use that money, the profit that you make from that money, to buy 40, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
You know,
build the snowball.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, don't sort of be like, oh, we need 500 shirts, but can't afford it, so I'm just not going to do it. Just get 20.
The other thing is print on demand. So I've just started doing print on demand myself in the last few months. And
what's the company?
Printful. Printful is the one I've been using. There's heaps out there. They're all over the world. Do a bit of research. There's some good YouTube videos that I lent into to kind of find the best fit for me. Because I'm doing a lot of my own designs as well. I'm able to use like their kind of system to drop artworks in. Like they do embroidery, they do a few different types of printing, they do so much different kinds of merchandise. Like they'll make shoes, they'll do dog collars, like heaps of shit. So yeah, I've just started using them. It means I don't have to hold on to stock. And like the first run of shirts I did, I printed 50, and it was literally when I started launching Stonewax. So I hung on to those first 50 shirts for probably not 50, but like I held on to the stock for probably 9-10 months.
Yeah.
I think I got 2 shirts of that run left.
Yeah.
I'm kind of just hanging on to 2 left, you know?
Yeah. Keep a couple for the archive.
Yeah, the archive.
Yeah.
But it's just stock I had to cart around for ages. Yeah. And I'd take them to exhibitions, I'd take them to shows and sell a few here and there. And it's great. Like, people can have a physical product straight away, but that was like for 50 shirts that had, I think it was 3 colored screen prints, front and back prints, both unique artworks, front and back. So it cost me maybe like $1,200 to do 50 shirts printed.
Yep.
So it's not that much, right? The return on investment, like I think it ended up being like $32 per shirt, and I was selling them for $50. So you make $15 to $18 profit per shirt. So it's a good turnaround.
Yeah.
But it means I just had to cart that stock around for so long, and I'm constantly trying to sell one product. Whereas print on demand, I can test products. I can put different styles in front of people with no cost at all. The cost to me is when someone actually buys the shirt, it gets dispatched.
Yep.
So they might pay, say, $50 for a shirt, $60, whatever you want to do, exclusivity wise.
Yeah.
The payment goes, like, I don't even touch the payment. It goes straight through my PayPal system into Printful. Gets dispatched, it gets printed, dispatched, sent out to the customer, and by the time it's all done, like, I've made that $15-20 with like nothing. Like I've only had to create the website and the artwork. Like,
that's right.
It's easy. Like, yes, the client has to wait. Sorry, the customer has to wait that little bit longer for their merch, but at the end of the day, it's all made to order. And like, if you wanted to, like, you could sell 10 of one style and take it off the net.
Yeah, you could use that as like your seed funding to do all your other stuff. And if you're playing more shows and touring and all that sort of stuff that actually requires you to have, merchandise with you.
Yeah.
I remember years ago when I was first putting on shows in Townsville, and we had like Parkway Drive and I Killed the Prom Queen coming up, and back then they were touring in, High Aces.
Mm-hmm.
But they had a big box trailer for all the amps and drum kits and guitars, and the exact same size for all the merch.
Mm-hmm.
So like, and they had a lot of crap, like back then. But yeah, I remember they were telling me even back then they were selling like on average, $5,000 a night. I know there was a band that sold out at the station recently, 1,600 people, and they did like $30,000 in merch in one night. Like, that could really add up. Mm-hmm. And I would say, like, especially when you're beginning, if you got your little scene happening, for me, especially when I was starting out in music in Townsville, like, it was just never even a thought to really even press CDs back then.
Mm-hmm.
So the same now would be Spotify. It's like, yes, you've got to be on Spotify. It's easy to get on there, but if you got any spare money going around, like, I would definitely invest in merchandise, just because it's something that you can quickly make a bit of money on. It builds awareness, builds fans, converting fans on Instagram and Facebook and Spotify and whatever, TikTok that you're using. Converting those people into like hardcore fans is a tricky thing.
Yeah,
it's a lot of different things that go into converting them, whereas converting them live is easy. Converting 30 people, 100 people, 300 people in an evening to being a fan, it should be a lot easier than converting that amount of people through social media. There's be a lot of passive people that will be just watching on there, but getting them active, getting them buying stuff, showing that people are wearing these shirts, creating that need and the want for it. I'd say there'd be so many people out there that would know one Violent Soho song
Definitely.
but still go and buy a shirt
Mm-hmm.
because they're like, I want that shirt. You know,
Yeah.
like I seen all my mates wearing it, and I want
Yeah.
that shirt. So Violent Soho just totally benefit off that because they don't need to sell an album, have these people streaming, their music and making, even you're talking one singular person, like how much could they really stream something to make a significant impact on the band? But they could definitely buy a T-shirt for who knows how much Violent Soho was selling them for. I don't remember.
I think maybe around the $50 mark, $60 mark.
Could be, yeah. Some bands selling it for like $80.
Yeah.
Some people like really put a price tag on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the profit margin can add up pretty quickly, and there's some good money and some good coin there that you can do stuff with.
Mm-hmm.
It's also how, as a support act, you can, if you get booked for like a big tour in the country supporting a big band, like they're only going to pay you like $200 to play. Mm-hmm. Maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe if you're lucky you get $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
But still, if you're in Sydney, if it's the gigs in Sydney, you got 4 people, 5 people in your band and a sound guy, that $1,000 is gone on flights. Mm-hmm. So you're expected to make money through your merchandise.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they just go. Yeah, but you can come
merch
down.
Merch is huge.
You can make $5,000 in the night on merch. I think it's got to be a big part of strategy. Getting creative with that, I'd say would be one of my first steps.
Definitely.
Having
a product to go with the digital product in that sense, right?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so what are some other creative strategies around a release? So we got like going back to that list I said earlier about like lyric videos, music videos.
Yeah, which I sort of wrap up into like the content.
Yep.
So anything to do with content, getting creative with your content, talking to people, being social because it's social media.
So people love visual. Like, I guess video is king in terms of content. Like, we are consuming video more than ever.
Yeah.
Right? So, how you can present those videos is a totally creative way too.
Yeah.
So, yes, a music video is probably the main goal because...
music video content, like content is probably bigger than a music... I just wouldn't spend too much money on a music video.
No.
Unless you have it and you really want to.
Yeah.
And you have the capability of cutting it up into these 10, 20, 30 second, minute long clips, I think, if you're going to make a music video, keep it low budget, keep it fun, keep it easy. You can do so much on your phone.
Yeah.
You don't have to go and spend $5,000 or $10,000 getting a video made. Mm-hmm. I think that could be a bit of a waste. You are better off doing small, short form content.
And like you said, it would just depend where you are at in your career.
Yeah.
In that sense. Like,
definitely.
We're filming this podcast on an iPhone right now. Like, this is good enough. Like you just said, the best camera is the one that's in your hand. So, whether, like, I know that... what's his name? Jack McCulloch. His first music video was just him snapping beautiful scenery. Yeah. And he just like saturated the imagery, made it look beautiful, like kind of gave it this artistic motif. Yeah. And edited it to the music, and that's the music video. Yeah. That's such a simple, easy way to put, layer more art on top of the art. Yeah.
Say if you are going to do a music video, keep in mind that you want to be able to cut it up. Yeah. So like having scenes where it's able to be, for one, also then cut into portrait mode. Yeah. So you know that there's like the ability to do that. Yeah. And then yes, if people really love it, they can go to YouTube and watch it for sure. Mm-hmm. But just having a bit of foresight in like, okay, how are we going to like cut this up a little bit so it works on Instagram and like 5 seconds works, 10 seconds works, 20 seconds works, all those sort of different cuts of the music video. That then it's like, I think okay to do a video just sort of knowing that. Mm-hmm. But if you were just like, here's the video, it's only available on YouTube, like it's just a waste of an opportunity.
You've got to, you're working harder to get people off one platform and onto another.
Yeah.
And sit there for the 5 minutes to watch it. Like, our attention spans are not there anymore.
Yeah.
So you got to bait them. You know, they call them teaser trailers for that reason. So
that's right. YouTube Shorts, that's probably easier to get them over to YouTube because they're already kind of there. Like, but, maybe people are watching shorts a bit more than they're watching long form content on YouTube. Content is content's king for any kind of creative release, and and obviously just face to camera stuff is big as well. But if you're not comfortable doing that, so many people aren't. Figure out again just other creative ways to get your image out there. Whatever it is that you're trying to push. Whether you're trying to direct people to streaming or to buy a T-shirt or come to a show. Another one too is like posters, the old school kind of way of just like hitting cafes, and even if it's not a gig, you could do like a release release posters, like the record's coming out. Again, it could have like a QR code for going to your website.
Pre-orders or like a merch order or anything really.
And just
anything
builds that
around the
awareness.
release,
Like if you've got a cool logo, a band name, if you're working with an artist or you've got similar artwork throughout the whole campaign, people they'll see it at their local cafe, look on their phone, it'll start to be like, oh, I saw that flower design and like now I'm seeing it on my phone, and including those designs and everything that you're doing, even if it is like face to camera stuff, like putting the little design as a watermark or something. I think it just builds that like
it's just
trust.
Like it becomes like ingrained in our subconscious. They were like, oh, I recognize that for some reason.
Because I saw it at the local cafe place sipping my latte.
Exactly right. So what else is there? Print is great. Like I love an artistic kind of music related poster. Like the Mars Volta did it so well for me. Like every album cover was just so beautifully like interpretable. Like I just wanted it on my wall, and you still look at those, I still look at the covers and be like, wow, like crazy. They did it a lot in the 60s and 70s with the psych rock music and any Hendrix or Cream or like the Beatles. All of their hand-drawn artworks were just like so captivating.
People would probably like steal them and like want them in their room if the artwork's good enough. Like they'd be like asking the cafe, can I take that down and have it, or just rip it off a telephone pole if you've got enough going out there. Those sort of free offerings too, like anything that you can do for free, like giveaways or like just straight up being like, we're playing a free show, or you've made some T-shirts and you're like, listen, we've done this pretty cheap, like let's just give them away so the artwork's out there and people are out there wearing it.
When I first started making music under Stonewax, I made these stickers that were like this. So I did this high moon picture. And it's just like this blazed moon, like red eyes, you know that one? Anyway, I made stickers with a tiny little QR code, and I went around like on my bike around the neighborhood. I had friends take a bunch of stickers over to like Barcelona and through Europe and America, and just put them on people's cars and like in under their windshield wipers and stuff. And that was like a beautiful kind of like, it was kind of provoking in a way because it was like this little pot smoking moon. And
then it gets around the world. It's something to talk about.
It's just like I found this thing and then I scanned this code and it took me to this artist and their music, and it was like this weird kind of thing that unfolded before me. And now I'm following this artist because that was like guerrilla.
How random.
So random. Like, how do they get under my skin? I thought this was a new drug dealer in my area. I was going to go buy some weed.
It's like chalk as well. That there's chalk stencils. Have you seen people do that? They do it in Brisbane a lot, where like they get a stencil and then just chalk it on a pavement.
Oh,
so if it's like, it's like a kind of low impact way of You know, if you got your band name or whatever, and you get like a cool stencil made up, and there's probably like spray chalk you can get these days. Yeah. And then that way it's like you're basically graffitiing the ground, but it washes away. Yeah. You know, it's not going to be there forever. Yeah. I don't think anyone would really bat an eye. You know, our sidewalks are so dodgy and gross anyway. So yeah, doing like a chalk thing and cruising down, for us it would be like Ocean Street, or anywhere that has like high foot traffic, and just getting your stencil out, chucking it on the ground. Everyone who walks past sees you know,
something happening.
Whatever your band name is. Out soon. Oh, what's that band name? Out soon. You know, maybe they get on Instagram and look you up, and that's a really easy, low impact, cheap way of just building awareness for what you're doing. And again, I think it's just like all about layering, stacking these things on, building that kind of like natural virality with it. Another big one too is just like engaging with fans. So like, whether it's at a show, at the merch table, online, if they're like going out of their way to comment you, leave a comment, you know, talk to you, engage with you, engage back, like that'll just like lock in that friendship forever. You know, just don't move away from that small stuff.
Totally. Well, your own pitch, you know, and people build a lot of trust around you using your voice and your face to do things, right? That kind of was gonna segue me into another point, and that's like, you know, using Instagram Live, or if you're on Patreon, using your Patreon kind of live strengths. If you're doing any kind of live content that's not like a live video in a studio or something like that, like that's probably the best kind of content you could do as a band, especially, or a performer, is putting a live video out. You know, thinking of like Tiny Desk, KEXP, like that's everyone loves that shit. But if
Western as Fuck is another one.
Western as Fuck? Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Yeah, it's another big
Jam
one.
in the Band, Jam in the Van.
Oh yeah,
you seen that one?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Jam in the Van. Anyway, like using our phones to capture live process or live snippets of a release, or going live to do Q&As, or like, so if you put a song out, I've done this. I've jumped on a Thundercat live stream before where he dropped his latest record and he was just answering questions while he was playing Xbox.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know?
Yeah.
So things like that where you can kind of show up for your fans, and it's like they can almost touch you. That's how live you are.
Yeah.
You know, but it's obviously in our, you know, on our screens, but there's no investment there except for your time. That exactly. Costs you nothing.
It's doing the same thing you would have been doing anyway.
Literally. So one thing I've been doing lately with this new client of mine, and it's to build his kind of Instagram up a little bit, and to also build my awareness around what I do in my process. Yeah. It's one of my processes. And that's going live in the production process. Yeah. And I get people coming on and joining me and being like, that's sick, or try again, like you're going to do better next time, or like, you know, throw that version out, or like, it's
smart asses.
But it's so good because I'm not storing videos on my phone, for one. Yeah. Instagram basically, I do it on Instagram Live, so it records directly into Instagram. So posting it is like super instant. Yeah. And it just like stores all my process for people, and for the artist, it's like showing how the song came together. Yeah. And that's like a full behind the scenes kind of ticket.
Yeah. Little memory vault.
Yeah. So when he's ready to put these songs out, he can be like, here's the video for when it was getting put together, and our shit talk in the session, and
cut together a bit of content. It's an easy ticket.
So easy, man. Yeah. Like, I don't think I've experienced a style of content that's easier, because I've gotten to a point where I just forget about the phone. I'm like, and then I'll take a look and I'm like, oh, what's going on?
Yeah.
See like 20 people there, like
Yeah.
watching, or, you know,
Yeah.
like, oh, hey guys, you know.
Yeah, that's right. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, well, should we wrap this one up?
Yeah, get creative with your release strategies. There's no formula. It's up to you.
Here's just some ideas to spark.
Exactly. Also do your own research because there's so many different ways to do things, but use the tools that you've got.
Yeah.
And yeah, until next time.
Tune in next week on Rainbows on Wax.
Rainbow.